I grew up in Teaneck, New Jersey, which is pretty close to New York City. And already starting from preschool, I was placed in Yeshiva of North Jersey, which is a school in River Edge, a normal, more modern Orthodox school. All the members of my family went there. It wasn't co-ed, but then again, it wasn't absolutely religious, and they didn't enforce you to be black and white. And I was there about until 6th grade. And then once I was in 6th grade, I didn't really like it anymore. The kids weren't really my type, and I was starting to branch out and become a little more of a different individual than the kids in Y&J. And I switched to a school called SAR, which is in Riverdale, Salanter Kiba of Riverdale Academy. And once I was in SAR, I had a great time. I was there for 2 years in 7th and 8th grade, and I was just happy. And for the first time in my life, I started to grow into myself a little bit more mature at whatever stage a 12, 13-year-old can actually mature, the year being bar mitzvahed. And at that point, going to high school, I wasn't looking into going to SAR high school, which is a great school, but a lot of my local friends from Teaneck, New Jersey, as I said I was from, were going to MTA. I switched to MTA after 8th grade going to high school, and it was the best move I could have made. I ended up making friends that are still my best friends today through MTA. I was there for 4 years, from 9th to 12th grade. Yes, I graduated high school. I did well in high school, for that matter. The teachers, the school itself, yeah, I liked it. I had a good time. But for me, high school was just about, you know, I don't know, high school. For me, it was about having a fun time, but at the same time, just keeping up good grades, keeping peace at home, and just trying to do what every single 16, 17, 18-year-old wants to do. Just enjoy himself and be as happy as he actually can. When the idea of going away to Israel came into play in 12th grade, I wouldn't say I thought about it whatsoever. And then, you know, all of a sudden, MTA started having these yeshivas come in and be like, come to our yeshiva, we're going to make you, we're not going to break you. And I'm just like, what's going on over here? Like, what do they want from me? Like, you know, it's like sort of like this, like, you know, assembly line. Like, I jump into this yeshiva and I'd come into the yeshiva being A, and I come out being Z, all perfected. Like, I didn't really understand what was going on. And then I started to think about a little why I actually wanted to go to Israel in the first place, before I can even say which yeshiva I wanted to go to based off of the yeshivas that my friends were choosing or my parents wanted me to go to. And I came to a conclusion that I want to come to Israel because I'm a Jew. I haven't been the best Jew the past couple of years, as I'm talking about in my high school years. And I wanted to be a little bit more true to myself and just live up to my utmost potential. And based on the yeshivas that were coming to MTA, you know, they were telling, come to our yeshiva, this yeshiva, that yeshiva. They were just saying a lot of rules. They were just telling me what I'm going to do once I go to their yeshiva. When I'm like, wait, if I'm going to go to Israel and try to figure out religion, Judaism, you know, the source of everything, religion, the purpose of life, I don't really want to be told what to do from 8 o'clock in the morning until 12 o'clock at night, and then hopefully like believe that their system is going to, you know, work for me. I wanted a little more freedom to figure it out for myself based on my true self. For the whole year, I didn't really have any conclusion where I was going to. I applied to a lot of the mainstream schools, mainstream yeshivas that a lot of the kids from modern Orthodox high schools go to, but none of them clicked. I knew I wasn't going to any of them. I didn't really know what I was doing. The summer came along, and a good friend of mine kind of intervened and told me that I should be going to this place called Neve Tzion. I knew what it was. I knew full well what Neve was. Although my predetermined thoughts of Neve Tzion were just like, this place is just filled with rebellious individuals, beatniks, whatever you want to call them. Someone who's just not ready to deal with life at face value. And I was like, what are you talking about, Neve? That's where I'm going to figure out my truth. That's where I'm going to figure out, you know, Judaism for myself, not just based on, you know, my upbringing, which was great. I had a great upbringing. My family is a good family. They brought Judaism to the household for what it actually is. I didn't have any really fights or disagreements. I just wasn't really for the program, to say the least. within a week or so, I get a phone call, and it's a recruiter from Hebei. He's like, "I'm here to meet you, let's do it." And I sit down and I'm like, okay, so what's Hebei really about? And it turns out it's exactly what I was looking for the entire year. It's all truth, it's all freedom, but at the same time, it's a grounded freedom in which you actually embrace the system. It's not a free-for-all, which you do whatever you want. There are rules, there are regulations, but they don't tell you what to do based on religion. It's not something that's, you study for your test and you have to get over 65 on the test in order to pass the year. They actually told me, yeah, we want you to go to shiur and we want you to be involved in the yeshiva, but to me it was a start of something so much more. It sounded like there was much more to be gained from. And all of a sudden, a kid from MTA, who usually wouldn't go to Hebei, it seemed like the perfect place for me. I was like, this is it. This is the place where I just get to be myself and just pursue religion, Yiddishkeit, everything that's everything. Spirituality really means everything once you figure it out in the end of the day, perhaps. And I figured out that I want a place where I'd be free to figure it out for myself and just have the help of, good rebbeim to lead me in the right direction. But then there was also another thought, it's a question here, how is Hebei different from high school? I think all of the predominant yeshivas, the mainstream ones, are just a continuation of high school. The social parties, the people, the way they think, the way they perceive things, they don't go forward. They're just high school kids. It's what I called 13th grade. It's funny looking at a question like this because this was like my trip in 12th grade the whole time. Like, I don't want to go to 13th grade. I want to go forward, I wasn't looking for 13th grade. I was looking to go forward in my life and just excel in my individual self. And Hebei was the perfect place to do something like that, where I would actually be treated with a maturity that I would be able to make my own decisions, but then again, not be, I wanted to be just in freedom to do whatever I wanted. That's definitely not what Hebei was offering. They had a lot of rules, a lot of ways of doing things. And then, once I got to Hebei, a whole nother chapter opened up for me. I realized that it was much more than the ideal of a place like Neve Tzion, but furthermore, the rebbeim that I met over here were tzaddikim. They were just, tzaddik is just a righteous person. They were just righteous, and all they wanted to give over was love and just help you out in every single direction. And they had so much wisdom to offer. And from the first day I landed into this place, I just, I don't know, I'm still going. It's just, there's been a lot of different chapters in the book, but I'm nowhere near the conclusion yet. If anything, I'm only in the beginning. And there's only been help and love and care to help me go along to reach my ultimate goal, to be my true self. Number one thing I like about Hebei, it's really, I've told you a lot of things up until now, but Hebei is one big family. You go on a field trip, you go away for a weekend, and all you want to do is just come back to Hebei, come back to your room. It's home sweet home. It's the place where you just find comfort. It's the place where you find your serenity and your bed and just your friends, and the friends that you make here are going to be the friends that you're going to keep for the rest of your life. And to just come to Israel and actually have a home, not just a dormitory in which you have a schedule the next day, is pretty cool. I don't know, I don't think a lot of other places have to offer that. What is a favorite trip I went on in Hebei? My favorite trip I went on in Hebei? They're all pretty cool, but I can say that last year, Hebei went above and beyond and took us to a lot for like a good 3-day extravaganza where they rented out like these beautiful hotels, these like, I don't know, not cruise ships, but let's just say like these big boats out in the water. And we would just, as Hebei, all of us together, we're just like, we were having a great time. We were partying. We were just like, it was a great break from yeshiva. Like, yes, of course, you need to be learning all day in yeshiva and be part of the system. But then again, once in a while, you need a break. You need a vacation. And Hebei, last year in Eilat, did all that and much more. And, with the different water activities, I don't know, just a good vacation. All the trips here were pretty cool. Last but not least, the best memory of Hebei? I don't know, can't really tell you that yet because I'm still in the middle of it, but it's all just been one really great memory, and I'm very hopeful for the future, and Yeah, it's just an amazing place.
My name is Ronnie Schulman. I come from Queens, New York. So I guess we're going to cover this first question, what schools I've been to in the past. Originally, as elementary, I went to Yeshiva Har Torah, which is a school that was based in Bayside, but it was rented out in a building, and eventually progressed into having its own building off the Grand Central Parkway in Little Neck. I was there for all 8 years, from K to 8, and if you want to say mainstream, I would say mainstream. It's as mainstream as it gets. Moving on, there's not so much importance to elementary school to high school. I went to MTA, which is in Washington Heights. In MTA, again, it's as mainstream as it gets. And if you want to say a lot of normal kids from a lot of normal homes go to MTA. I had an amazing experience at MTA. Aside from a few falls here and there and some disputes between different rebbeim and the school itself, but overall, I ended up there very well. My end result there was amazing, and after an amazing experience in high school, I did really well. I got into colleges. I decided to come to Israel. And why would anyone want to come to Israel? There obviously are things about it that's very scary. You're 6,000 miles away from your parents. You're 6,000 miles away from your home, your bed, your friends. But then you got to realize that we're all Jewish. We're all Jews, and we all come from the same background. We all come from Avram Avinu, and we all got to realize that we have to come to this homeland once, eventually. Like, we're all going to be here eventually. One day, when Mashiach comes, we're all going to be here, and I might as well get to know the land now, so that when I come here, I'm not going to be completely lost. So I said, I'm going to come to Israel. I'm going to take advantage of my year. I'm going to do the best that I can. So originally, this is my second year. I was in OJ last year. For all of you that don't know, that's Or Yerushalayim. I spent the full year there, and again, I didn't have any issues with the yeshiva. It's just the yeshiva did not speak to me personally. Their ideals in total were not particularly what I was looking for. And I had a bunch of friends in Beit Zion. And I was like, wow, this place could be really interesting. So my first experience with Neve was me coming here and hanging out with my friends, meeting a few of the Rebbeim, and just hearing what goodness there is about Neve. And then I decided, I got a phone call from a rabbi here, Rabbi Prager, who happens to be an amazing person, and he told me, why don't you come to Poland with Neve? And I was like, you know what, that sounds great. I'm like, but what's the catch? It's expensive, I happen to be a Kohen, so it's not really permissible to me. And he told me, 95% of the trip is permissible to Kohanim. So I was like, okay, what's the next catch? He's like, I can give it to you for a very good price. And I was like, I'm on board. Spoke to my parents, I went to Poland. What I realized when I got to Poland was I didn't really know anyone. I knew maybe 3, 4, 5 guys. 2 of my friends that were originally in OJ came to Neve in the middle of the year last year. And my goal in Poland was to just really experience what my ancestors went through. And I have to say that Neve really portrayed it very, very well. The all-star lineup came with us to Poland. It was Rabbi Feldman, Rabbi Charlap, the Mashgiach, Rabbi Blumenfeld, and last but not least, Rabbi Prager. There's not enough words to explain how amazing Rabbi Feldman is. He happens to be my Rebbe this year, and he is a gadol beyond belief. He's in another world, and I honestly wish I could explain it further, but I guess you'd have to come to Neve to see. There's also Rabbi Charlap, who is the most humble and amazing person, and he comes from an amazing past. And the Mashgiach, of course, who has an amazing story, and when you come to Neve, I guess you'll hear it too. He comes from a very, very interesting background, and very, very interesting ideals as a whole. So I have to say my favorite trip, in terms of me being in Neve, it would be Poland, because it happened to have been the only trip I went to. But if I went to every other trip, I would have had to say that was the trip I would have loved the most. One question that people always have is, why would I send my kid to Neve? There's all these other mainstream places that could do the same thing for my son. Generally, the kids that come to Neve are more of a rebellious roots and have somewhat issues of this sort and that sort. But what you got to look at it is that Neve also has a totally different aspect, and that's the hidden light that I like to call it. I remember one kid, there was a story that they were just screwing around with the Ouija board, and it happened to be that they come to a conclusion that there was one side of it, which was the dorms, which they called Olam Hazeh. And then they came to the base, and they were like, this is Olam Haba. This is where the beauty is. This is where everything happens. This is where the light is. This is where where the most amazing things happen fully, whether it's learning Gemara, whether it's having sichot from Rabbi Price. It's honestly the most beautiful thing you could ever imagine. And I think that if you want to look at it from an overall glance, what Neve is about, you'll say, why should I send my kid there? But if you really understand what Neve is about, and you really come check it out, and you really talk to the Rebbeim, and you really talk to Rabbi Falk, and you really get involved in what Neve is about, you'll understand it fully, that this place is for me. And again, just like yeshivas all around, there's a yeshiva for this person and a yeshiva for that person. But for me personally, and I come from a very mainstream house, I have no problems, no family issues, no nothing. And I decided Neve would be perfect for me because they really care about you. They have full, unconditional love for every Talmud in this yeshiva. And I can vouch for that. And you come ask me anytime, anywhere, and I will vouch for it. About my memories in Neve, I can't say I have real memories because I haven't even finished my tasks here. I can tell you that when I'm done with Neve and I go back to America, or if I make Aliyah and I stay in Israel, I know for a fact that all my memories of Neve will only be positive memories, and they will all be positive experiences, and I don't have an ounce of regret coming to Neve in my body whatsoever.
Spencer Epstein. Neve is a very special place for a lot of reasons. I think a big reason that I think it's so special to me is because of the freedom that I'm given, that I was given from day one, in terms of deciding what's right for me. And they told me from day one, they told me that, we want you to be religious, but we want you to be a good person. We want you to be a good person too. You should work on yourself, work on your midos, and then, wherever that takes you. And it will end up taking you to the right places. Also, Neve is a very non-judgmental place. Out of most of the religious Jewish yeshivas that I've been to, Neve is the least judgmental. I feel like in other yeshivas that I've been to, I've been doing things, just to impress the rabbis, or make sure that they think good of me, that I'm doing good. But here, you work to grow, you work to grow on yourself, to grow yourself, and there's no sense of judgmentalness. There's no sense that the rabbis are thinking that what you're doing is wrong and they're gonna punish you and think bad of you. There's just pure love that comes from the rabbis, and that's just it's another great thing about Neve. So I come from an unreligious family. I went to public school all of my life until senior year. I started becoming religious on my own in 9th grade. And from there, I wanted to go to a Jewish school. I wanted to go to yeshiva, whatever it was, and my father wouldn't let me. So when I turned 18, I went to a Jewish school, a Jewish modern Orthodox day school, and from there I went to yeshiva in Israel last year, and I left the yeshiva Pesach time to come to Neve. And I didn't necessarily have the best experiences at that other yeshiva. I was turned off. I became religious on my own, and a lot of things that were going on in the other yeshiva were big turnoffs to Judaism. But coming to Neve was just a big spiritually uplifting experience. Just being here, getting the clarity from the rabbis. One of the most special things about Neve is the sense of family that you get with your fellow Talmidim, your friends that you're hanging out in the dorm, you're learning with, you're doing everything with, and the sense of family that the connections that you get with the rabbis and their families, and the warmth that they give over and their families share, on Shabbos or holidays, whatever it is. It's a very strong sense of family that a lot of other places don't seem to have. Favorite trip was whitewater rafting down the mighty Jordan River. That was fun. I think it's very important to come to Israel for this gap year after high school, before either going to college or getting a job or whatever you're doing.
I think the gap year is very important because it gives you time, away from your family, away from your, regular surroundings to mature and to realize who you actually are. You're coming from, growing up and living with your parents and going to school, and all of a sudden you're 18, 19, and you get thrown into the real world. And Israel and Neve are both great preparation for the future in terms of the time that you have here to mature and the tools that they give you on how to mature.
My name is Shlomo Glass. I'm from New York and LA. I started 9th grade going out of town to a school in Milwaukee called WITS because I was interested in getting out of my house, getting out of the place I lived my entire life. Which was the 5 towns at the time. I wasn't really interested in being there anymore. And I went there for about 6 months. Didn't really work out. Went back to New York, finished up school in DRS for the rest of 9th grade. Then at that point, during the summer after 9th grade, my family moved to California, where my father became the principal of EULA, which is where I went next for the remainder of high school. I've been to Israel many times before I came here for the year. And I always knew I loved Israel. I came on many different programs. I came by myself one summer, just traveled around, and I always loved Israel. Not really sure why. I always liked it here better than whatever place I was in America, be it either New York or LA or anywhere. So during 12th grade, when I was in EULA, leading up to a year in Israel, I knew I was coming here, but I really had no idea where I was going. And many different yeshivas came to EULA and to give interviews or whatever it was, and I made sure to just go check out every single one, just keep my options open, and none of them seemed bad, but none of them particularly spoke to me in any which way, except for Neve. And at that time, I had spoken with a rabbi from Neve in 11th grade because I was thinking of going then, but for whatever reason that didn't work out. And then he came back in 12th grade, and I was ready to go again then, but for whatever reason, my mother and my parents were not really, they weren't really down with me going to Neve just because of whatever reputation it might hold for people that don't really know what's going on here. So I ended up, I went into the summer, and after 12th grade, still didn't really know where I was going. And all I knew was I was going to Israel. Somehow I'll get to Israel. And I was working in camp over the summer. I was working in Camp Hask. And with a week left of the summer, I get a phone call from a rabbi from a certain yeshiva in Israel. And he, a mainstream American yeshiva, and he tells me he spoke to my parents, like, you want to come to this yeshiva? And I'm like, so for me it was just really an opportunity to get on a plane, come to Israel. I really wasn't interested in his yeshiva, but I said, all right, yeah, sure. Told him what he wanted to hear, and a week later I was on a plane and I was on my way to Israel. I got to the yeshiva, ended up spending 7 months there, which I really didn't do much, didn't accomplish much, and it really, I don't know, it just wasn't for me, but it was comfortable, so I stayed. I was having a good time there. nobody was bothering me too much, and whatever. So I, for good or for bad, I just stuck it out. And around Pesach time, I started just getting aggravated with the whole thing, with just the lack of just of doing anything productive. And at that point, I was ready to go back to America, just just maybe get a job or whatever it is. Even my boredom here, whatever it may be, was overpowering my love for Israel, and I was ready to go back. At that point, my roommate in that yeshiva was kicked out, and he was coming to Neve, or he was having an interview with a recruiter from Neve, and I just hopped along for the interview. It was a free breakfast, whatever it was. I get there, and basically he says, the next day we can come. So next day, we hop in a cab and we just head over to Neve, take my bags and everything. And at this point, my parents were still not excited about the whole thing. They were pretty upset. I didn't really tell them. I just kind of showed up, and just Neve just kind of, they realized that they understood that it was the place for me and that it would make sense. So they just took me in, no hassles, whatever. Just got there, and things would work itself out. And I was in Neve for a month and a half of my Shana Aleph at the end. And still throughout that entire time, my parents were still not really down with it, and whatever, I just, tried to explain them the situation and whatever it was. So I got back to America, and I think at that point, my parents saw, just like the changes that I went through during that month and a half, just, were like a completely different person than I was when I left, or even when I left my other yeshiva, just in that small, time period of, just a month and a half, whatever it is. So much happened, and whatever. So either way, they were very much excited for me to come back, which I did, and I'm now here in my second year. And just in my 2 months here so far, even more so, there's just been just being here. I really can't pinpoint anything, but just the atmosphere here in the Rebbeim and the people that are here are just unlike any other people that I've been in any different school with, and I've been in a few, and just you just find yourself just getting closer to to Torah and mitzvos and tefillah and everything. I mean, I remember when I came here, one of the things I want me to speak about is my best memory in Hebei, which I didn't really remember one until now. But I remember my first day here, I davened mincha in the base. And that was just by far, and at that point, davening became something, a little more special to me, but that was by far the most, inspiring mincha I've ever experienced, or even, davening in general that I ever experienced in my life, just in the Neve Beit Medrash. It was unlike any shul you can go to, anywhere in the States, or any other yeshiva that I davened at. It was just, the tefillah was actually, was very much important to everyone involved. You can tell there was really something, special going on. So, right then and there, I understood that, that this was the place, and this is where I would grow. And now, whatever it is, I've been here, this is my 4 or 5 months in, from last year and this year, and there's already been, tons of changes and growth, and very happy with what's going on.
Start. Hi, my name is Mordechai Klein. I'm from Miami Beach, Florida. Before that, Muncie, New York. And after 4 years in the RESG Hebrew Academy, it was off to college for me. I applied to one college. I got accepted right away with a decent scholarship, and my plan looked like that's where I was going to go. Throughout the year, though, we had people coming to us from different yeshivas, recruiting us to their school. The only school that I thought I would ever even think of going to was Neve Tzion. The reason why Neve Tzion was the only school that I could imagine myself going to was because it was a place where they would not shove it down your throat. After going to a religious school in Muncie, where this is the way it was, don't ask questions on it, and then going to a modern Orthodox school in Miami where again, some rabbis would say, don't ask questions, this is how it is. In the Hebei, how the recruiters explained it to me was that it was a place where you can start at your own pace. You don't want to learn, you don't need to learn. Enjoy. So after my mother told me, you're not going to Israel unless you get yourself a plane ticket, I informed her, I'm not sure if I want to go. She said, great, you're not going. I said, fine, I'll get myself a plane ticket. That's how somehow I ended up in Israel. Also to do with many of the people who've gone to Israel before, they've told me, before you start your wonderful career, take a year off. It's a year to find yourself. It's a year to just explore before you join the hustle bustle of the rat race of the working community. So as I came to Israel, I came with 3 good friends, and at first we didn't do much of anything. We toured around Israel, saw its beauty, saw the people living in harmony with the land, and in the old cities and in the crazy marketplaces. And we started to get a feel of what's going on. They must have something here. Slowly, we started going to the Beis Medrash every day. We visited the rabbis' houses on Shabbos more. We got to feel a little bit more of a love for Judaism. Eventually, though, my friends moved on. They've joined college, and I stayed here. So as time went on, I found myself more in the Beis Medrash, and I was learning Torah that I didn't really know existed. From my elementary school and high school, I thought I understood what Judaism was. I found out that I had no idea. So I came back a second year because when I went back, a lot of my friends were still not religious. They brought up more questions and more ideas. Some of the things I have to say about Israel is that you have to come here to experience it. You have to see that everything here is from God. When it rains here, the people in the street, they dance because the rain here is a gift. The holidays here, everyone is happy. Purim, everybody's drunk. It's just a crazy amusement park. There's people you'll know from all over the world, in Tzvat, in Eilat, rabbis, friends. Just, I guess, you got to come here to experience it. They asked me what my favorite trip was. Nivei takes you on amazing trips. We also take ourselves on other amazing trips. But my favorite trip today is going to the Beis Medrash. Every day there we learn crazy new things, crazy new ideas, realities that just expound on this world. Every day from when I leave, from when I go in and from when I leave, I come out a different person. The reason why I excelled at Nivei is because they let you grow. They let you choose what you want to do. You want to learn 1 time a day? Learn 1 time a day. You want to learn 3 times a day? Learn 3. You want to learn throughout the day? Learn throughout the day. The rabbis here are amazing rabbis. You'd be surprised. They are extremely patient. At first, I couldn't understand this. You know, sometimes kids come here extremely unmotivated and into all the wrong things and just not wanting to go into the Beis Medrash at all. And these rabbis see what you can become, not what you are now. They can work with you on any level. If you can read Gemara perfectly and Tosfos and Rashi, there's something there for you. If you can't even begin to learn Gemara, they will sit down with you and patiently go through with you how to learn Gemara. It's amazing what you see in there, how you see people change.